Don't California my Texas. Don't California my Florida. Don't California my Colorado. By now, you guys all heard it. Californians moving into states and people in those states complain about Californians changing things. But which states are Californians actually moving into? Well, on this video, I've got the hard data from 2024 that shows which states California households move to the most. And we have their adjusted gross income so we can see how wealthy or how poor those Californians who are leaving the Golden State are that are going to other states. So in this video, we're going to go through the top 10 on that list and see exactly where Californians are moving to. All right, first I'm going to do an honorable mention at number 11, just so you guys know where things stand. Number 11 was Idaho. And since it's an honorable mention, we're not going to get into the specific numbers behind Idaho. So with that being said, let's get on to the official list, the top 10. And it starts with none other than North Carolina. So last year in 2024, we had over 11,000 Californian households moving to North Carolina. And these households brought the money with them. They had an average household income of $113,000. Oof, some high income Californians came to North Carolina. And in North Carolina, you already know where they probably moved. They probably moved to the Charlotte or the Raleigh-Durham areas, which are very popular in that state. Now, how many households did North Carolina lose to California? Well, North Carolina lost just under 6,500 households to California. And those were lower income than the ones who moved to North Carolina at around $82,000 per year household income. So overall, California lost a net of around 5,000 households to North Carolina. At number 9 is Tennessee, right next to North Carolina. So looks like the Californians love the Southeast. So for Tennessee, we had 13,000 California households who left for the volunteer state. Oh, and they brought the money with them. Average household income of those people was over $144,000 per year. Now, what did Tennessee lose to California? Well, we had over 3,400 households go into California with an average income of $106,000. So at least it was a six-figure household exchange here with Tennessee and California. At number 8 is Colorado. One of the things you hear out here in Colorado is don't California my Colorado. Well, the Californians are coming. So how many moved to Colorado? Looks like we had 15,585 households leave California for Colorado. And you know the majority of them are probably moving to the Front Range, which includes Denver, Colorado Springs, and Fort Collins. The Californians are bringing with them $129,000 in adjusted gross income, while from Colorado, we had 9,895 households that left with an average income of $105,000. Okay. At number 7 is one of California's neighbors, which are often hotspots for Californians to move to, and that is Oregon. Now, Oregon, we had 19,000 households that moved to Oregon from California. And they took with them a household income of approximately $104,000. Now, how many Oregon households moved into California? Well, it was 10,550 with income of $93,000 approximately. So we had a net of 8,738 households that moved into Oregon from California. Number 6, you don't hear about this one too often, but we have blue state to blue state. Californians moving to New York. So for New York, we had 19,656 households that moved into New York from California. And they had very high income, $170,000. Now on the other side, New York actually lost more households to California than the other way around at 19,708. And they had similar income, $171,000. So California actually had a net gain of residents from New York. Number 5 is a very popular one that you will see, and that is Florida. You've heard it a lot. Don't come to Florida and bring your California politics with you. So how many Californians actually moved from California to Florida? Well, the number says we had over 24,000 California households that left the Golden State for the Sunshine State. And they had some very high income, $187,000 typically. Oof. Florida is raking in the money. Now, how many Floridian households moved into California? We had 13,000 Floridian households moving into California with an average income of $120,000. So there's your Florida. Those are the numbers for Florida. Number 4 is another West Coast state. Washington. So for Washington, we had 27,550 California households that went up to Washington. And they took with them $139,000 in household income. But from Washington, how many moved to California? We had 18,275 with income at $162,000. So Washington has lost some of its wealthier households to California. But overall, you had a net of over 9,000 Californians households lost to Washington. Getting into the top three, we have Nevada. Well, excuse me, they like to say Nevada. So we have Nevada at number 3, another neighboring state of California. And one of the selling points of Nevada next to California is that it has no state income tax, while California has some of the highest taxes in the country. So how many left California for Nevada? Well, we had a whopping 30,571 households that left California for Nevada, and they took with them $134,000 in household income. Now, on the flip side, Nevada had 14,500 or so households that left and went to California. But the income they took with them was only $86,000 per year. So California's lost some of its wealthier households in exchange for Nevada's less affluent households. Now, number 2, to no surprise, California's other border state, Arizona, which is a very popular place for Californians to relocate to. So as far as Arizona goes, we had 32,864 households that left California for Arizona, and their income was just over $100,000 per year. Where on the other side, we only had 16,000 households from Arizona that left for California, and their income was only $77,000 per year. So another case of California losing some of its more affluent households in exchange for poorer ones from the state that it lost them to. So with the way the list has gone so far, you guys can probably already guess what the number 1 state for relocation of Californians is at this point. Yep, it is none other than Texas. And you have heard this one a lot. Do not California my Texas. On one of my videos, I even referred to Austin as New California. So let's see what the numbers actually say. How many Californians are moving to Texas? So this one is big, way ahead of number 2. We had over 54,000 households that left California for Texas, and they took with them over $145,000 per year in household income. Now, there were some households that left Texas for California. You probably heard that some people from California decided to move back to California after living in Texas for a little while. So the number says that a little over 23,000 Texans moved into California with a household income of $106,000. Leaving you with a net loss of over 30,000 households for California to Texas. So it is true, Californians are flooding into Texas. And all right, guys, that is the list. So what can we conclude from this list? Well, the first thing that we can conclude, which is what we probably already know, is that most people leaving California are likely leaving due to the sky-high cost of living. I mean, I just spent plenty of time in California over the past couple months. Beautiful state. And if it wasn't so expensive, I might live there myself. So Californians are simply going to states where their dollar stretches further. You notice that a lot of the states on this list had no state income tax. That is a key. Florida, Texas, Tennessee, Nevada, no state income tax. And of course, Californians, most of them are moving to states that are very close to California, like neighboring states such as Washington, Oregon, Arizona, and such. Now, the most fascinating state on the list probably was New York, because for New York, you're mostly making a lateral move, as we saw about the income of those moving to and from New York to California. So you're leaving one expensive state for another expensive state. So you didn't see much difference there. But let me know what you guys think about these numbers down in the comments. Are too many Californians moving to your state? Or if you live in California right now, are you considering leaving? And if so, what are your reasons for considering leaving California? If you live in Texas, what do you think about all the California transplants that have moved into your state? I mean, they are bringing higher income. So, as always, thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you on the next one.